Hey, ladies. Welcome to today's discussion about the Elena Cardone book, Build an Empire, How to Have It All. We have been talking about doing this for the past few weeks now, so I'm looking forward to people coming in. Please don't forget to like the video, share the stream, and we are. Um, Hold on a second. We actually have a guest coming in as well. So, hello, fine womanhood. Hi.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you doing?
Perfect. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes. Glad to have you on to have this great discussion today and welcoming everybody in. Again, everybody, please hit the thumbs up button as you are coming in. We've got Mocha Mommy here saying, looking forward to this. We've got Black Widow Rose saying, happy Sunday. Hello. Hello, Black Widow Rose. So, more people are going to come in today so we can have this great conversation. Computer and Coin is in the building. Good evening to everybody. So, Fine Womanhood, I contacted her a couple of weeks ago because she's got just such a great perspective on men and women and relationships, both romantically as well as platonically. And I wanted to have a great guest, and she has agreed to be here. So, again, Fine Womanhood, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really love your channel. I mean, in my spare time, I like to read up a lot about finance, investing, and I love, topics on women in business and women monetizing their skills. I talk about that a little bit on my channel too. And I just love everything you have to say about like our economy. I mean, I think your channel is amazing and it's definitely going to blow up.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, why don't I just ask you really quickly for people who don't know who you are? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel, what you focus on, and actually, like, why you got started on YouTube overall?
Yeah, so my channel's name is Fine Womanhood. I technically go by Miss T or just T. I don't really put that out there, but just T is like my actual name. But I started on YouTube. I actually started my platform on Instagram, and it was just an Instagram where I was posting inspiration like photos and captions. And then I wanted to start a femininity YouTube channel. But one thing that I noticed about the femininity channels that were already on YouTube is that they focused more on like your looks and how you dress, wearing lipstick and etiquette, but I didn't see any femininity channels that kind of tackled, how we think as women, how we see ourselves internally, mentally, even spiritually, and how we deal with relationships and just friendships and anything else. So I wanted to make my channel a little bit more about that. And I'm also a traditional woman. I'm spiritual as well. I'm a Christian, so I have a little bit of that on my channel. So some of those values I like to incorporate in my channel. And overall, my channel just kind of evolved to be a space for Black women who want more of a slower lifestyle, maybe a traditional lifestyle. You don't want to be in the spotlight. You're not with the riffraff that we see on social media. You just want a regular life, like a soft life, hypergamous life, things like that. So I talk about a lot of that on my channel. And, I definitely talk about dating and relationships as well. Interracial dating is a big component of my channel because I don't think as Black women we're as open, or we've been, raised to be as open compared to other groups of women when it comes to who we want to date or even be friends with. So I definitely incorporate that onto my channel as well. So, my channel just evolved into a Black woman empowerment space. But for Black women who, just want to have a different type of lifestyle that's not in alignment with the stereotype that we see so much in the media.
Yeah, and not only in the media, but also online on social media as well. And,
Mhm.
you and I had kind of similar paths in that I really wanted to I was watching a lot of the BWE content and other types of content as well, everything from divestment all the way to very pro Black. And I didn't see the merging of Black women and finance and money and some of these discussions the way that I wanted to see them. So I said, okay, well, let me just kind of talk about talk about this information from my point of view. And, I have a couple of PSAs in here for everybody. So the first is with this type of topic, if my moderators know, if we get anybody in the chat who is not about the upliftment of Black women, then you are welcome to ban them for life. Um, because that's not the kind of channel that we want over here. The second thing is that I don't have a course to sell anybody. I don't have a wife school to sell anybody. I have been married. I'm a widow now, so I can give you a little bit of perspective with regards to that. But I really kind of wanted to have this from a point of view of someone who doesn't have like another agenda, but just to say,
Right.
okay, here are some of the things that Elena said. We're not going to go through everything she said, but she had some very good points in there that I think that we are able as Black women to take and mold for ourselves and then be able to set our lives up so that we're able to, have the best life possible. And the final thing that I want to say is that I was, past tense, a huge fan of Grant Cardone. I'm no longer a huge fan of his. So I saw that he started bringing on like people like Stormy Wellington, the girl that was like, you have a low vibrational plate, into his orbit and on his
Mm.
stage. And he
Mhm.
started to have a lot of rappers like Snoop and
Oh, wow.
Floyd Mayweather and people like that in his orbit to try to attract Black people. And I don't
Yeah.
like that. So
Mm.
anything pre 2018, I'm a fan of Grant. But if you all start going into the Elena and Grant of today, I'm here to say and stand on this square and say that proceed with caution. Okay. Do a lot of research and proceed with caution. So, Mokamami is saying, so glad you're adding a book club. Yeah, we're going to talk about Atomic Habits next, and I have a couple of others that I'm reading right now. Computer and Coin is saying, please like the video and share the live. Absolutely. Tulip is saying, how long has this one been on? We've been on for 8 minutes, so you are
Just
early.
getting started.
Yes, yes, just getting started. Selfish Love. I also got the book, Harriman Churchill that you suggested. My lady, why didn't you tell me that book is 8,000 pages? I got the book. It's so big. So, you know, I, I was like, as soon as I saw you in here, I said, let me tease her about this. So here's what I want to do tonight, everybody, ladies, find womanhood, is I have a video that I want to show you, and actually I'm going to break it up into three parts. Find womanhood and I are going to talk about it. Um, and then I have a little PowerPoint with the 7 key lessons that Elena talked about in the book. And I'm going to read some of the book, and Find Womanhood and I are going to talk about that. And then we will open up the live for the StreamYard for you all to come up and kind of share your thoughts with regards to this. So um, yeah, you're saying I stopped paying attention when he said the Black community needs to rally behind Kanye before the J comments. Yeah, yeah. He had been going downhill for the past few years.
Yeah,
So,
when I
uh,
first came across Grant Cardone, I didn't even know. I mean, you're right. Like he wasn't really inclusive of like the Black community, like a lot of urban type of artists and stuff like that. So I've been tuned out from him for a few years. So
mhm.
I'm kind of surprised he's had like rappers and things like that because he was more
Business
speaking from a
focus.
place of like business
Yeah.
and wealth, but like kind of old money wealth type
Mhm.
of thing. So
Mhm.
that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and it was sad. I saw it. Um, I saw, the transformation of him, and he had always been into hip hop. He would always like quote Biggie and Tupac and things like that. But that's kind of
Mhm,
like I'm calling it old school rap, right?
mhm, mhm.
But then, yeah, when I saw the pivot, I was just like, no, I'm getting off the train.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but
Oh,
the first thing I want to do is I kind of want to share a bit of Elena's story and actually let her tell it herself. So I found this really great video and we are going to listen to it. Fine Womanhood, if you could put yourself on mute as well, just to make sure that we don't get the echo.
yeah.
And we're going to get started. So,
And then lastly, I really do want to acknowledge you, Grant Cardone, because we've been married for 18 years or going to be 18 years soon. Um, and I want to thank you for having the capacity, the integrity, the grit, the drive, the force, and everything that it's taken for us to get to this level. And I appreciate and admire you so much. So thank you for you bringing this opportunity for all of us. um, so a lot of people know me as the woman behind the man or beside the man, however you like to refer to it as. I don't have any problems with it either way. You know, people earlier in our marriage, earlier on, tried to sort of disparage my power as a woman by saying, well, she doesn't do much, or she's a gold digger, or she's just the support, or you know how people try to do that, or she's just the, and I hate when I hear women say this, by the way, I'm just a wife or I'm just a mom. I'm like, you're responsible for rearing children to become productive, contributing members of society. How in the world can you say you're just a mom? It's only the most important role on the planet. But earlier on, when I was battling those issues with myself, because I used to be this, or think I had to be this strong, powerful, independent woman, could never depend on a man for anything. I moved to New Orleans. I moved from New Orleans to Los Angeles at 17 years old. I knew no one there, and I thought I had to just do everything by myself. And then I finally married Grant at 30, find myself in this relationship where I'm still trying to be the strong, powerful, independent woman. But for the first 4 or 5 years of our marriage, like, we were each creating on our own thing, but coming home and kind of tearing each other apart. And I'll take responsibility for that, because I kind of thought I had to be this woman that can't be controlled by a man. And like, how dare you think I'm going to cook you a meal because I'm not a subservient woman? And I mean, I had issues to deal with. But he was always patient and really amazing. 2008 happened, where I was pregnant with our first child. The economy was collapsing. Our Grant's business, as he knew it, was over. Mine, I mean, I was an actress. There was no acting roles for me. I'm like out to here. To make a long story short, in 2008 is when I realized that I had to just really confront and look at my life and say, why can't I depend on a man that I'm married to? Like, where does that come from? How could we collaborate? How could we work together and not try to vie for this male female role? But like, how can we actually divide our roles based on our strengths and weaknesses in order to reach a heightened level of success? And it is true. Grant was very successful when I got together with him. He was around a $10 million millionaire, whatever you call that. And I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, middle class background. That to me was wealthy. I had never dated a guy with that much money. So Grant was always um, going to be successful. And he's right about that. I did not give him that success. However, the heightened level of success, that's mine. Because you can only go so far on your own. It is true, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And this whole idea that you have to do it yourself, especially for the women out there who think that we have to do everything or it's somehow discredited, um, that is a lie. And we are cutting our noses off and spite our faces because we aren't able to delegate and collaborate and build an empire to where we can actually have other people lift us and help us achieve a heightened level of success. And the reason Grant and I have reached a heightened level of success, A, is because it started with the two of us being willing to work in a collaborated and coordinated effort with the sole purpose to reach a heightened level of success and to divide and conquer and to work together in order to make what we have created today work. So in 2008, when we were on the verge of losing it all, it did not look like this. But I'm here to tell you that, find the one you trust and build an empire. And I say trust because after 18 years, there are going to be days when you don't think that you like the person. But Grant and I can be trusted in our roles. I'm going to be X 100%. Like Grant actually said this. We are not 50-50 in our relationship. We are 100 and 100 in our relationship. I expect him to bring 100%, and he expects me to do the same. And
Okay, I know that that was super long, but I wanted to kind of give you her full comments, her full backstory. There were a couple of things that I wrote down as she was talking. The first thing that I wrote down is that she married Grant at the age of 30. I don't know if you all heard that, but she married Grant at the age of 30. I know that there are people running around here saying you hit the wall, but
Right.
this guy who was already making $10 million a year, worth $10 million a year, I can't remember which one she said, married her at the age of 30. Okay. She also had kids late as well. She had kids, I think she said at 35. She said it was 5 years after they got married. Um, and then the third thing that I wrote down was that Grant was already successful. And she said, however, she heightened that success from 10 million to they claim it's a billion, whatever amount of money it is. It's a lot of money, right? She didn't say, I met him sleeping on his mama's couch. She didn't say, I met him working in the mailroom. She didn't say, I met him when he was trying to get his rap career together. You know, he already had an established business. He already had something going on. And fine womanhood, I will toss it over to you. What do you have to say with regards to this first part?
So she said a lot, and everything you just said is so true. She, despite what we hear online from a lot of the men in on YouTube, especially, she met her man at age 30. She had children already, and she met her man at an age where he was ready to provide, and that's the thing with a lot of guys that I notice. Um, a lot of guys that are accomplished, they're not, even according to statistics, they're not going to skip over um, influential women in their circle, or that they come across naturally, for like very younger women, like these 21-year-old girls who are secretaries. And I don't mean to say that to be shady if you're 21 and you're a secretary, but what I'm saying is, the guys on here want to paint that picture that if you're 30 or you have children, you're not going to get a successful guy. And that's not true. You can be 21 and a secretary and get a successful guy, and you can be 30 with kids or no kids and still get a good man, a successful guy. It really matters on your environment, who you're around, who you know. That's what matters the most. And another thing I noticed is that these successful men, let's say, the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, their wives are accomplished women. The stats say that the more a woman has in terms of her skills and her education, she's the most likely to get married. Or if she has a business or a trade or something, if she's just involved and around people that work hard, she's most likely to meet someone who's just as much as a hard worker and, have a successful relationship. So, she's her story is so very common. It's her story of how she met her husband and the type of man she has, that's usually how it goes. So she's totally right on point with that. And another thing she said towards the beginning is that she questioned herself on why she can't depend on her husband or on a man. And that is also a common thing a lot of other women go through as well. A lot of women today, they are more so focused on Miss Independent lifestyle or mindset. They have the mindset of Miss Independent. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but deep down, they know they do want a family. They do know they want a healthy relationship where they can rest and, kind of sit back and let the man take the lead. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. And a lot of women, they kind of tend to like shame themselves for wanting a man to depend on. And there's women who shame each other for doing the same thing. And that is very toxic and very problematic for a lot of women, because if you don't have anyone to depend on, or you at least force yourself to not want to depend on anybody, not want to receive help from anybody, you're setting yourself up to be stressed. You're setting yourself up to, also when you make mistakes, you're setting yourself up to be the only person who's liable, because you're not receiving help from anyone. So when things go bad, it's all going to be on you, and that's going to lead to even more stress. So, there's a lot of women who are kind of struggling with that. They're struggling between wanting to be independent, have it on their own, be the only ones, they don't have to depend on anyone, but at the same time, they do still want that soft lifestyle, that slow living lifestyle, and, the, the love that they get from having a family and a good relationship, but they have to learn how to juggle both, like, so, and it is possible. There's lots of women who do it, but I have noticed that with a lot of women that, that's something that's pretty common that they go through.
Yeah, I think that I will speak just for my family. My mother, grandmother, great grandmother never said, Cherie, you don't need a man. But they really did push education and make sure that you had your own and you were self-sufficient. And I think within at least the Black community, as Black women, we are taught that. We are taught, hey, make sure you get your education, close your legs, open your books was the saying that we got when I was younger. And I still think that that is, in a way, it's valid for a lot of us to at least get to a point where we are self sufficient, and then bring a partner on who is able to enhance that. But this, the independent, strong Black woman trope, I do think is tiring on us. As Elena said, and it's very true, I'm discovering it as well, it is darn near impossible to build wealth and raise kids on your own. We all need somebody. We all need a village, a tribe, whether it's the people that you're working with, or it is, you know, your partner, your husband, your mother, your family, things like that. And um, one of the things that, and we talked about this the other day, is that I would like to see more Black women have children in marriage. I think that that's a very important thing. But we also have the ability um, to figure out how to open up our options so that we're able to select the best man that's possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, a lot of things, I know this is the BWE space, but I've also come across some channels where some Black women are actually pushing against wanting to get married or just wanting to have a healthy relationship, or, what do women benefit from this and things like that. And I think the main thing that's kind of missed out of those conversations is, a lot of Black women, majority of the time we know, marry Black men. And,
Hmm.
the Black women themselves also complain about these relationships that they're having. So I don't think that marriage is just not worth it, or a long-term relationship is not worth it for Black women. I think
Mhm.
it's worth it if you're choosing the right man and you're opening up your options to men that value legacy, to men that value building an empire, to men that take it seriously as well, meaning that they are going to be loyal to you, they are going to be honest, they are going to be consistent and disciplined. You know, marriage and these relationships and feeling like you can't depend on someone is only valid with a person who doesn't have those values. So,
Yeah, I think that the selection process is so important. I cannot tell you how to vet a man except financially. I did a whole stream on how to vet a man financially. I
mhm,
also did another stream on after you get married, here's the paperwork you need to have in place,
mm,
in order to make sure that you and your children and your children's children are protected. But I think that these are very important lessons that we as Black women need to kind of share with each other. So what I want to do as well is, say that within the book, Elena also admits that she had two failed, what she put in quotes, real relationships before she met Grant. One
mm.
man cheated on her, but the other one confessed that he cheated on her, and then he ended up, and I want to read this verbatim. She said, that relationship ended with me signing over my home with the promise from him to never contact me again. I gave up a home that is worth over $1 million today.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
going to repeat that for everybody. This is Elena. This page 52 of the book. She says here, the second relationship, she says, that ended with me signing over my home with the promise from him to never contact me again. I gave up a home that is worth over $1 million today. I am here to say we believe that white women, that Asian women, that Latino women, do things, perfectly. They've got these great, amazing
Mhm.
men. If you listen to some of the people in the swirling space and the divested space, you would swear that these women don't have issues, and that
Yeah,
is not the case. I'm
right.
glad I'm starting to really see a lot of swirlers and divestors say you need to
Yes,
vet all.
absolutely. I mean, for me, I went to preschool and 12th grade as like the only Black person in all of my classes. I went to private school, and then I went to my HBCU for like 2 years. And that was the first time I, was around majority Black people. But all of my school years being around white people, and I can tell you and confirm to you right now, they go through things. They
Mhm.
definitely those women do get cheated on, they get betrayed, they get embarrassed by these guys. I mean, that some of the guys also tell them to go 50-50 or ask them for money too. Like e- these dusties, they're not in one color. They come in all kinds of colors. And if you are, frequently around other groups of people pretty often, you'll start to see that other groups of people definitely have their issues. And I think with the Black community, Black dysfunction is very profitable. So, our dysfunction is put out there, and it will make you believe that, like, we're the only ones who go through these things. But in actuality, other groups of people definitely go through those things. But they don't tend to profit off of it, but it is there. It's very much there.
I agree. Everybody, please like the video. Please share. Please like the video and please share as you are coming in. So, yeah, T, you said, oh, no, not the house. Yes, the house. And Tulip said, I hated reading that, shaking my head, the cost of dealing with a fool. Absolutely. So, this also has to do with paperwork. So, the reason that she lost her house is because she let this man move in her house. He renovated her kitchen, I think it was. Yeah, remodeled her kitchen. And when she wanted to put him out, he said, then you must pay me for the labor I put in to remodel the house, even though he was living with her, according to this story, for over a year. And because she did not have the money to pay him off to leave, he put a contractor's lien on her house. This is why I always tell you, ladies, to have your paperwork together. He put a contractor's lien on her house, and she ended up having to give a. Can you imagine fine womanhood giving away? Oh, I hope she comes back. Giving away a house that's worth $1 million. The legacy that's lost for her children. So I'm sure fine womanhood will come back. Oh, she disconnected. Yeah, here we go. Um, all
Sorry,
right.
I think I dropped off by
Yeah,
what
that's
happened.
okay. I was just saying that can you imagine the legacy that especially us, if we had a house that would be worth $1 million today and we had to sign it off to some guy because of some
Oh,
issue with not having our paperwork together.
oh my God, that I would. Oh my God, I don't know how I would. She's a trooper. I don't know how I would move on from signing over a $1 million house. Oh
Yes.
no, mm-mm. No.
Well, I'm going to show the next part of this, and I'm going to put myself on mute, and let's hear the other two parts I want to show you are a lot less time. So let's keep going.
I just started to look things up. People disparage the support role, like it's not as great. And then I thought, how can I combat this? And I looked at the definition of the word support. I'm like, well, why am I balking at the word support? Is it a bad word? Turns out it's an amazing word. The word support has several definitions, but there's two in particular that really stuck out for me. One is to show active interest in the success of, to show active interest in the success of. Who doesn't want someone in their life supporting him or her? To show active interest in the success of. The second part is to bear the weight of. So imagine like a support beam, right? Supporting the weight. In my case, I would be the support bearing the weight of a Grant Cardone and everything that comes along with that. Wouldn't it make sense that I would have to be the stronger one if I'm bearing the weight?
Okay, so I think that there are different types of strength, and I wanted to show that because she talked about the definition of support. And she does have a traditional marriage, even though in the book she says that she knows some couples where the wife out earns the husband and, they make it work for their situation. Um, but she talks about the fact that that she is the support of her husband and his many businesses and the organization and the home. But I think that her support is different from what we as traditional Black women who were born in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s have been taught. And um, I think that there's a way for us to reimagine being strong Black women. And I wanted to kind of open it up, hear what people have to say. Fine womanhood, what do you think with regards to the support role and her definitions of support?
I totally agree with her definitions of support, and I'm glad she said, you know, at the last part of it that she does have to embody some strength as the support because, the strength that Black women are tired of hearing is the strength of us to do things by ourselves without expecting any help. But I think the strength she's referring to is the strength to, be there for the person that's technically like helping you and doing things that you're able to have enough strength to have their back in the event anything goes wrong or in the event they need some encouragement. And since you're not exuding so much of your energy doing things on your own, you can store up that energy and use that as strength to build up your husband, your friends, family member. Like, you have that strength within you that is actually going to help other people instead of a strength that depletes you. So I really like how she made that clear because that's very important, especially in a traditional relationship. um, Traditional women are, and women who stay home, they're seen as, weak, or their role is insignificant, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So I'm really glad she made that point.
Yeah, and you know, she talks in the book about what her role is as support for Grant, but we hear a lot in the Black manosphere, and I am going to call the Black manosphere out just because I don't know enough about the white manosphere and the other ethnicities about can you cook, can you clean, right?
Yeah.
We don't hear any other characteristics that a lot of the men are looking for except can you cook and can you clean. I think that the types of men that we're looking for, you know, in this book club and in this channel are men who honestly see us as more than just somebody who can cook and somebody who can clean the house and take care of the kids,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And putting a dollar amount on that. Well, you know, your services are only worth $1,100 a month, right?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
because if according to the book, and I would believe this based on what I know of Grant, if he were to put a dollar amount on Elena's support, it would be immeasurable.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think you're looking for a man that wants a support structure that is immeasurable, right? And not
Mhm.
just boiled down to, you know, the three famous questions that were always asked. um,
Yeah.
can you cook? Can you
Yeah.
clean? And how high is your body count? Is
Yeah,
all I seem to
because
hear.
true support you can't buy. Like, he wouldn't be able to put a price tag on it because you can't buy someone being there for you genuinely. You can't buy someone really being concerned about, your progress. Things that you can buy are things that technically the person, like the maid you're hiring or the chef you're hiring, they don't genuinely care about you. They care about getting the job done and getting paid, and it's all a transaction. And so the men in that space, that's what they don't understand. They don't understand that relationships do have a transactional form, like a component, but relationships in its total are not transactional. You do need a part of the relationship, well, a major part of the relationship has to be a part that you can't put a price tag on, has to be a part that you will get regardless of income, which is true, genuine connection, the desire to actually want to support each other without that price tag. Because if you don't have that, well, then you're going to marry someone who may have money, but they don't really care about you. Like you said, they're just wanting you for a role or for something you're going to do. And if that's the case, you can just hire someone for that. Why get married? Why set yourself up for marriage, which you can risk getting divorced and all these other things? If you're not looking at it genuinely.
Yeah, I agree. Tulip is saying here we need to think about the type of helpmate the man needs. A man that goes to the plant and drinks beer every night or weekend needs a cook. A highly productive man needs a wife with other skills. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, even the skill of being able to listen to a man when he's his most vulnerable. Um, I remember one night my husband was really down. We were just going through a hard time, not between the two of us, but just in his life. And the ability for him to to cry. And I'm not saying
Mhm.
that you want a man who cries like every single day, but you
Mhm.
will have a man who every once in a while needs to um, needs to be able to have a release and do it in a
Mhm.
safe space. And you are that safe space for him. If he does not see that as something that is immeasurable, you know, that doesn't have a dollar amount on it, right? That's so
Mhm.
important. So, you know, there's a lot of characteristics that a woman has that, you know, if men are really looking at it and valuing us, even if we are just housewives. And she says, I hate when people say just housewives. Even if you are
Mhm.
housewives and stay at home mothers,
Yeah.
that he will say, but no, you are taking care of my most prized possessions, which are my kids,
Right.
and there's no amount of money that can replace that. Um,
Yeah, because I mean, you have babysitters and daycare centers where the people working there are crazy and they'll hit on your kids, they'll say all these crazy things to your kids. So even if you
Mhm.
were to pay someone to take care of your kids, there's still a risk of them pouring into your children like negativity, and there's babysitters who will talk down on your child, and all that money you're paying, but you're still getting like a quote unquote crappy service. The best person that a man can have to take care of his children is the mother, is his wife.
Is his wife. And not only that, now you have some schools that are asking kids their gender, asking them
Yeah.
if they want to change their gender.
Oh
You know,
girl.
I showed previously the Rhode Island state senator that was twerking, who was trying to teach age appropriate lessons of how to give fellatio, is
Oh
what
my
I'll call
god.
it. Yeah, there's a lot of craziness. If I were having a child right now, I would definitely say to whomever the husband is, homeschooling, you know, or we send our child to like the strictest Catholic school or something like that, where we know that the
Hmm.
curriculum is math, science, reading, and not this whole, crazy agenda that's
Yeah.
happening out here.
Yeah, and
So, but that
there's a
takes
lot of
money.
parents. Yeah, it definitely takes money, and there's a lot of parents who maybe they're not even the most Catholic or the most religious, and they're still sending their kids to those schools just so their kids aren't fed that programming of trying to, manipulate their thinking to be something that, the kids wouldn't experience if they, didn't go to that school. So, it's definitely scary having kids today. You just can't leave your kids with anybody, and there's just no amount of money you can put on good care for your children, which you're going to get from a housewife.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, I got one more part to play with this. This is just one more minute, and then actually, I'm going to drop the StreamYard in for anyone who wants to come up. We're going to go over the 7 lessons that I got from Elena's book, and we're going to have more of a conversation. So, let's hear one more minute from Elena.
Just to finish the story about Grant and making him become a billionaire. Also, ladies, let me tell you this. When you put your spouse, your husband, on a target that's so big, guess what? You get to point them in that direction, because when they don't have a goal and a target that meets the ferociousness or the capacity of their potential, and they're just hovering, guess what? You become the target of that energy. So that's a really good hack for all you ladies out there that need my help. Like, just make them go that way. That's the new target. But then also understand that if you give a man or a woman, depending on how it is in your relationship, a target that big, understand this, that you can't say, okay, go meet 7 billion people of the world, have them transact so you can become a billionaire. Oh yeah, but also, when are you going to spend time with me, and when are you coming home from work, and when's enough? Like, you can have it all, but you do have to realize there will be some sacrifices.
Okay, so I wanted to share that with you as well. First of all, we did our session called The Number One Way to Tell He's Going to Be a Billionaire a couple of weeks ago. And in that session, we talked about fierce nerds. And within fierce nerds, there was the discussion of, you know, the suggestion from the blog writer that said that fierce nerds need a huge problem to solve and a huge target, basically. Elena, I thought it was very interesting. She, that fierce nerd thing was in the tech and science space. She's in the financial slash online course space, and she's saying the same thing. She's saying that when you get a man like this, he needs a big enough goal, and you need to point him in that direction. So that way, because that energy, for the right type of man that we're talking about, that energy has to go somewhere. And if it doesn't go out, it comes in the house.
Yeah.
Fine womanhood, what do you think?
Yeah, you're totally, totally right. I mean, I like how she said in towards the end of that video that, there's going to be some sacrifices, and coming into this space, that's one thing that, I saw a lot of femininity channels kind of like selling Black women a dream, the Black girl luxury, which I totally support, but you have to understand that with everything, soft life, Black girl luxury, cottage core, whatever you're into, there's going to be some kind of a sacrifice. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be hard times. And you have to remember that. And you can't. Now, the thing is that, it's not that you can't have a good life, but no one is perfect. There's no perfect situation. There's no perfect person. It's no such thing. It's never not possible. But the thing is that you don't harbor on the negative outcomes and the negativity. Learn how to forgive, learn how to, yes, redirect that type of energy and just that bad stuff into another area. Don't hold on to things and let it overall ruin the situation that you have going on. So I really like how she said that in the last video, because us as women, we love romance and we love the fun stuff, but we can't get caught up in fantasies and like in Disneyland and stuff like that. Like there's real conversations that need to be had, because real situations are going to happen to you. And like you said, for you and your husband, that there was a tough time that you guys went through, and that's gonna happen. So you have to be prepared for that, and be able to know how to get over that and succeed regardless of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mocha Mommy is in the building. Hello.
Hey, Mocha Mommy.
Hello. I love you too as content creators. You provide so much value to the space. I love that you ladies are out here making such great content.
Thank you. Well, I'm a big
Thank
fan of
you.
yours as well. So,
Yes,
what do you
absolutely.
have to say with regards to everything we've talked about tonight?
Okay, so I initially saw that you chose this book, and I was like, really? I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical. I'm glad I read it. But I think out of a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 4.
Okay, why?
Well, I guess you did explain it early on, like pre 2018, the Cardones were a very different brand than they have now. So now I have a clearer understanding of that, because I feel like now where their brand is not something that necessarily resonates with me. I also think that like the first like introductory chapter, when she talks about her childhood, I feel it was a lot of privilege in there. I feel
Why don't you tell everybody, because a lot of people may not have read it, tell everybody what you're referring to with regards to her background. And yes,
okay.
I agree with you.
I don't want to give it away because I think you ladies should read it. It's definitely worth the read. But she grew up south of the Mason-Dixon, and she experimented with drugs, and there was some illegal activity that happened, and I just think that we wouldn't have got away with that. We wouldn't have, like, you know what I mean? Like just that her proximity to the underground lifestyle is something that a lot of us wouldn't have gotten away with.
I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, she really was troubled for a long time, and I had heard her story before, so I knew a lot of it before I read it. So I wasn't as surprised, because she had talked about it in 2017, 2018, when I was really listening to them, and they had the G&E show. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of us would not have been able to make it out of the situation that she was in for as long as she was in it, and come out unscathed. With She was apparently on some network show. I had never heard of it, but to be able to be a quasi successful model and actress in Hollywood. Yeah, absolutely. What else do you think, though, about what we had talked about with regards to, her backstory of marrying Grant when he was already established, and she took it up to the next level? She was the support role. Mokomami, anything else that you have? Because I know that you are also in a marriage with a man of a different race, so I'm sure people would definitely want to hear from you with regards to that.
I definitely think that I did meet my spouse in a really established, when he was established, but not where he is now. Because I think that when he got into the field, my husband's in international cybersecurity. And I think that in the early 2000s, we had no idea where it would be, that it would be what it is today. So I definitely knew that he would be successful, but I had no idea the market for the skill that he had would grow to this extent. That's what I would say. But he definitely was an accomplished man when I met him. And to be honest, I thought, we were going to finish our military obligation and that he was just going to get a, government service job, and we were just going to live, in the DMV area and raise our kids on his government service job and have a pretty decent, life. But I had no idea that the field that he was in would grow this much. But I knew that he would never be some broke Dusty, because he was a very, like Elena describes her husband, Grant, extremely energetic man. Like, he's a very driven, very ambitious. He really won't or can't sit still. Like, even right now, him and my daughter are out at a charity softball tournament because he's always moving. He's always on a forward trajectory. And men like that very rarely struggle financially, from my experience.
And this is where I talk with everybody who listens to me about skilled labor versus unskilled labor, and the fact that within this country, unskilled labor is going to get crushed. So if you're talking about getting married to somebody and they are unskilled labor, I'm here to tell you that unless he's planning on shifting to skilled labor and you actually see that shift, it's going to be a very difficult married life for you economically. I can't say 100%, but I could say 99%. And, whether his skill is going to be in tech or his skill is going to be in sales or like real entrepreneurship, not just hustling, but real entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is a skill. Making sure that that is part of your financial vetting of men. Find Womanhood, you're off mute. Did you want to say something else?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just listening. No,
Okay.
you guys are absolutely right. Yeah, we did talk about this last time when I said that men who have skills like working with their hands, it's just, man, it's just so attractive to me. It is a sign of masculinity when a man has a skill that, he's just naturally good at. He knows how to monetize it outside of, other jobs, because it is going to be a big deal. And actually, I think hopefully, there's a lot of men who are trying to learn skills because their college, rates are kind of going down. And I am seeing a lot of men get into like the hustling of like crypto and stuff like that and pick up skills and trades. So it's definitely a thing of the future. Just, I think that's important. Having a man that's just good at something that, outside of school, outside of any type of institution is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, what I'd like to do, and Mocha Mommy, you're definitely welcome to stay up and chat about this. I want to go through some of the lessons within the book. There are 7 lessons that I picked up from Elena based on her chapters in her book. So what I'm going to do is go through these, and then some of these actually have portions of the book to read. So the first lesson that she talks about is finding your purpose as a woman. And then she didn't say this outright, but I feel like you also need to find a man who has purpose as well. And we kind of already talked about this. The fact that if you are with a man who does not have purpose, in my opinion, it's going to be a very difficult relationship for you. Just like, when your family gets together and you all decide that you want to build generational wealth, whether it's mom, grandma, children, aunts, uncles, etc., and you put together a family bank or a family investment club, or you're creating your family trust, there needs to be purpose for the family as well, and cohesiveness. So do either of you have anything to say with regards to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think purpose is so important. I mean, I feel like you can kind of tell when someone may lack purpose because they may be all over the place. They're very kind of double-minded in their thinking. Um, they have some character issues, some integrity issues as well. So having purpose yourself and then having a partner who has purpose can really build a solid foundation in your relationship, marriage, and can really help you raise better children too. So this is definitely should be first on your list.
Yeah. Mocha Mommy, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree. And I think the best way to find a man who has a purpose is to be a woman on your purpose. I
I
mean,
agree.
Yes.
and it's like I'm constantly like encouraging Black women, like, here's a new hobby, here's a new thing, develop this skill because you'll be surprised. I mean, it was crazy because even today, my oldest daughter was expressing an interest in something, and she was saying like, she took a gap year, which I totally respect, but she was saying, I think I'm interested in like a culinary school. And there are these chefs who open up like either their restaurants or these event spaces and they teach a class. And, a lot of these chefs are so on point with not just what they're teaching, where they're sourcing their vegetables, like how they're, their cooking techniques and where they're going to learn new techniques, how they're exploring flavors, how they're marketing themselves, what their social media pages looks like. And it's just, you could really see like this man was on his purpose. He was on his game. And then just, if you have any kind of interest in something like that, you're going to find those people. If you have an interest in anything, like even me, like I'm doing like these charity run events. My daughter's doing these charity softball events. You're going to find somebody who's on their purpose. Like, but you got to be on yours. You just can't be sitting back waiting and hoping that they find you. You've got to be on your purpose too.
Yeah, so like for me, definitely, I wasn't looking for my husband. Literally, I was just doing my thing, working in my career, kind of living life. And his brother said, I think you should meet my brother. I think you two will hit it off. And sometimes that happens. But I will also say that, ladies, don't be afraid to get out there, put yourself out there as well, and like connect with people. Whether your purpose is something that you're doing in your career or your purpose is something that you're doing extracurricular. So the second thing that she talked about was creating your list. And her whole story was that after she had the two failed relationships with the second guy, she had to give her home that was valued today at $1 million. I'm still pissed off about that for her. But she said, you know what? I'm going to create a list of the things that I'm looking for in a man. And I took the time and I actually wrote out the things that were on Elena's list because she wrote them in her book. Um, she wanted a man who was 6'2", has green eyes, heterosexual, real man that protects women and children. I'm not going to read all of this stuff, but drug-free, monogamous, healthy, romantic, et cetera, et cetera. You could see how long the list was. And she said that she actually sat down and really thought about what she wanted the man to be able to do and who he was. And she said, Grant is not 6'2". He doesn't have green eyes, but he fits everything else on her list. Now, I think some of her list is superficial, like can afford to buy me a Cartier watch, but you know what? Everyone gets to have whatever is on their list. And everybody, yes, please like the video and share the live as well. But then she said, and I think this is so important because this is law of attraction. She said, if that man who wanted these things met me, would he want me? And she said, no, he would not. Therefore, she created a list of, she didn't call it this, but what she needed to be in order to attract that man. So things like beautiful, loyal, alcohol and drug free, which at the time I think she wasn't alcohol free, healthy and fit, helps husband reach their full potential. Feminine, even though I hate the term feminine because I think it's overused in the Black community. Um, makes me feel proud to not only be the man, but her man, marriage minded, et cetera, et cetera. And she said that there was work that she had to do on herself in order to attract the man that she was looking for. And I can say personally, one of the reasons why I haven't gotten remarried is because there are things that I need to work on as Cherie, myself, so that I can attract the person that I really want. And I think that a lot of us should be honest with ourselves with where our shortcomings are and where we need to kind of, um, shape things up a bit. And then she says here, the list made me realize I always expected greatness from relationships, but I wasn't giving greatness myself, including my platonic and professional relationships. This is a quote from the book. So I'm going to bring it back to Elena's list and let Find Womanhood, Mocha Mommy, and everybody. The StreamYard link is in there. So if y'all want to come up on the panel, please do. Find Womanhood, Mocha Mommy, what do you think of Elena's list?
Yeah, I mean, her list, I mean, she has a very desirable list, right? Like, I don't know many women that wouldn't want a lot of the things she has on her list. But yeah, I mean, it's just so important as a woman to make sure that, you do have your own substance and your own identity. And, how Mokamami was saying earlier, like you're on your purpose, because all of that is going to lead you to figure out what you can offer, towards someone else. I mean, relationship, a friendship, a business deal, like what can you offer? Even if you have a skill and you want to, you said entrepreneurship is a skill, that all includes like you offering something special. Like, why should people work with you? And when you take those steps back to look within yourself, you'll be able to figure that out very easily. But you're not going to be able to do that if you're worried about what you can get out of other people and, what other people can do for you. You have to always be checking in with what you're doing for yourself, and the right people will come to you, and, you'll benefit more from what you can do for others than what people are doing for you, in my opinion. Like, I see women who are excelling and very happy, and they're their happiest moments when they're on their purpose, doing their thing, instead of waiting around for someone to give them something.
Mocha Mommy?
Yeah, I definitely think, although I don't think that, I think there's too many women who are sitting on the sidelines in the dating market, in my opinion, thinking that this self-improvement that is going to take to meet a partner is going to come from them sitting in the corner doing it by themselves, when actually you really do have to embrace and learn from other people. And then that self-improvement, I think, is a network. And I know she talks about that later in the book, but I definitely think that being the type of woman a guy like that desires is pretty important. Because I mean, I know, like, I was a pretty like athletic person, and then I married somebody who is an athletic person, and now we have a daughter who is an incredible athlete, and that takes a lot of skill, like as far as like my homemaking skills, and as far as because she constantly has to travel, like, is everything clean, is everything put together? And I made like a little joke on my channel about washing her softball uniforms and also feeding an athlete, fueling that. So I think it's good to build up those domestic skills, and I think it's good to build up those interpersonal skills, but just know that you don't have to do it by yourself. It's okay to bring other people in. It's okay to get a trainer. It's okay to take a cooking lesson. It's okay to get therapy, but don't use that to keep you out of the game. That would be my thought process.
Yes, I love that.
I love that too. And I think that sometimes we are super hard on ourselves as well. So I definitely can. I think that maybe as we are going through, because like for myself, for example, I know that I'm just, not ready yet. but give me a year and I will be. And then I'll let everybody know that I'm out officially on the prowl. But
Yes.
I do think that, if a woman is unsure or she's been on the sidelines for a super long time, then maybe talking to a few other people and saying, hey, what do you think? This is really what I'm looking for. Like truly writing your own list down and saying, if this man met me today, would he truly think, no, she's a great woman. I want to have her in my corner. Yeah, maybe you think you need to lose the last 10 pounds, but he may love you the way you are at the size 12, and that may be okay, So, hey, God bless. So yeah. All right. So I wanted to go to the next one here, which is the know your role as a king or queen. And I'm actually going to read from the book a little bit here. So she says here, when I say know your role, what I really mean is you have to take ownership of living at a higher level. She says the queen is brilliant, multifaceted, and often underestimated. Despite a soft, feminine, and often compassionate exterior, the queen must be the strongest, toughest, smartest, and most disciplined person in the empire. Her role is vital to the king. She hustles behind the scenes to secure allies, assets, and transactions that contribute to the good of the empire. The queen is trained in the art and science of life. She understands that life is a game and that the better she understands the rules, the better she will rule. She seeks to improve her skills and works through continued education, learning, and training. The queen is self aware. She has the ability to read people and various situations that will aid her in dodging life's bullets while conquering new territories. The queen knows that it's only when everyone within the empire succeeds that they can all reach their true potential. She knows what she wants and she goes after it without apology. Queens are served, queens are served by their kings, but it's not about racking up a closet full of clothes or being taken out to dinner once a week. It's about knowing she's his equal, and when he serves her, he serves the entire empire by making sure she can reign at her highest and best self. So there were several things that I liked about this passage. I definitely, one of the things that I talk about within this channel is that there are some women who are very good at the husband goes out, he makes money, he brings it into the house, and then she is able to put it into real estate, into tax liens, into the stock market, and other investments and have that money grow. Um, she's able to, manage things, do the savings, things like that. I also like the fact that she says that the queen, like, sees a target and she goes after it without apology, because I think oftentimes we as women, we tend to be tepid with regards to, no, we do deserve this as a family, and being able to really go after what we want without apology. Whether it's the school zone we want to live in, the school we want to send our kids to, the house we want to live in, not going overboard, but just a good standard of living. So I'll open it up to either one of you. And everybody, again, StreamYard link is pinned. So if you want to come on, definitely feel free to come on and talk. But Fine Womanhood, Mocha Mommy, what do you all think?
Fine Womanhood, I'm very grateful for your channel, because I don't know where the whole resting in your femininity thing came from. But I feel like I need a nap. Like, it's the weekend and I still had to wake up really early to get my daughter off to a tournament, to get my other daughter off to this culinary exhibition. Like, I'm still waking up early. I'm still putting in a lot of time into my family, and they're young adults. I mean, we moved before my daughter graduated high school, and the commute to go to their school, because we chose to put them in private school, was 20 minutes. So, yeah, it took, and they didn't have a driver's license. Neither one of them were driving at the time. So it still takes time. It still takes effort. It still takes energy. And I'm so grateful she talked about the energy that it takes. Like, the rewards are amazing. The rewards are still amazing. Like, to see my daughters grow into the young women that they are. I'm super proud of my husband, and all that he's accomplished, but know that it takes forward momentum to support that. And the whole thing where you think that you're just going to be going to the spa while he works hard. No, when my husband's little startup got bought out by a Silicon-based Valley company, all those people relocated here to Austin. And so because Austin's such a young city and it was like a young startup, a lot of people were asking me, where are the best schools? Who are the good pediatricians? Who are the, you know what I mean? That took effort on our part. So I'm just saying, like, those things happen. And I'm not saying that um I'm burning the candle at both ends, but I am saying, because I think I have a great work-life balance, but I am saying I'm grateful she talks about the forward momentum it takes to keep a successful marriage and household running.
Yeah, I totally agree, Mukamami. Like, you know, yeah, I hopefully, like, on my channel, and I know for sure your channel as well, and definitely this channel, we're coming into this space trying to spit some reality into the fact that there's just there's real situations that go on in this type of lifestyle, and you have to know what you're doing. You have to be aware of what's going on, because you don't know who you'll meet. You don't know what's going to pop up, what obstacles you might have to face, and you do have to be prepared, and you do have to have a good have a good role, quote unquote. And I know when people say, know your place, know your role, they're probably saying it from like a place of subjugation, but you really do need to know, you need to be skilled in a certain position so that you know how to like navigate that. And I think if you're just kind of all willy nilly with things and free flowing, you don't have some structure, you don't have like some knowledge, that can probably come back to bite you in the end. You just don't want to get caught up in the fantasy, going to the spa and just la di da di da. Like, you don't want that to consume your life. Of course, you're gonna have some fun. Of course, you're gonna enjoy yourself, your family, your girls, but that can't be like the bread and butter to what you're trying to do. So, yeah, I totally agree.
Hi, Tulip. What do you have to say?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, so first of all, I'm happy to be here. I'm so glad that you recommended this book. It's pretty good. And if I drop out here, it's because my husband's back home from work and I need to head out here. But I think in this portion of knowing your role as king or queen, what she said about deserving, believing that you deserve the different things is so important, because especially as Black women in the Black community, we've been conditioned with more of a survival type of mentality. So that, let's say you're looking for a husband, right? Then you're just conditioned to say, okay, well, as long as he's not a drunk, or as long as he's not on drugs, then that's all he needs to have. But I think we really do need to move past that and believe that we deserve to have more of a, not necessarily just the whole stereotypical, soft life type of lifestyle, but we need to be okay with moving forward. But that's basically one of the things that I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you are right that we as Black women are taught, as long as we can survive, as long as we can make it another day, we grew up with good times, and Florida Evans, and or these days people saying, well, the Huxtables weren't really, what do you call it? They weren't realistic, right? So kind of reshaping that and reframing that in our minds, where we're able to say, no, again, I do deserve it, but once I get there, I know the role that I have to play in order to keep it. And she talks about that with regards to lesson, I think it's number 6, where she talks about empires are destroyed from within and what it takes to maintain an empire. I wanted to share a little bit about the role of king really quickly. So what does the king do? The king is unwavering, committed, and willing to do whatever it takes. He works harder than anyone in the entire kingdom, including the queen. He's willing to make the hard choices and envision the future of the empire as it expands and does not contract. He is intelligent with a knowledge he must build and multiply money and resources for long-term survival. Yet he's also aware of his own shortcomings and is willing to learn, strengthen, and change in order to grow. He knows he must be confident, sharp, and on top of the game. Low self-esteem can affect the kingdom in the form of an inflated ego, a false sense of pride, or a lack of confidence to pull the trigger on a great opportunity. So what I really liked about that, when she talks about the king, a couple of things. Number one is that he is focused on long-term survival of the family. And I think in our community, we're so focused on, can we make it to the next payday? Instead of thinking, how are we, according to the Bible, creating a legacy for our children's children? And then the second thing is, if he doesn't have the knowledge, he's willing to learn, he's willing to strengthen himself, or he's willing to connect with the right people who can like shore up those weaknesses that he has. And I think even during the dating and the vetting process, these are some of the things that we need to be looking for within the men as well. So find womanhood. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think she stepped out for a second.
Okay. Mokomami?
Well, I definitely think that one of the things that really impressed me about my husband was how forward thinking he was. Like, he was always a very forward thinker. He was came from a career before he was in the army. He came from a career that didn't have a lot of stability. And then after that, he craved stability for himself. So, like, I have a lot of respect for what I saw him cultivate. And I knew that he would be the right guy. And I feel like, a lot of times in the Bible, we talk about Proverbs 31 woman, right? And when you look at, where's the guy? He's at the city gates, right? Getting respect from the elders. And how his interaction with other men is going to be a really important vetting tool too. Like, I just feel like that's one thing that we might need to look at, like how he treats his friends, how he treats his family, if he's in a leadership position, how he treats his subordinates. And then just how do other men view him? Because I really feel that a lot of problems that men have are with each other before they ever have problems with us as well.
I agree. I think I said that a few days ago as well, but keep going.
So I just think like that forward thinking and always, kind of planning ahead. And I mean, yeah, my husband is and it's like I'm very impressed because he's always coached our kids. He's always coached their little league, and he's coached pretty much almost this whole section of the city. Like, people constantly calling him coach. They think that's what he does for a living, but because he spends so much time in the community coaching little league. And it was time for us to get another batting coach for our daughter. And it was like just seeing him go through that process and seeing him kind of let go to understand that this is as far as I can take you. And it was just a really emotional time. But, of course, he made a great decision and she's really thriving. But, and seeing, too, like when he left the military and, and seeing his subordinates like get orders to a duty station or get into a new school and just wow, like you just see like how he had that forward thinking and sometimes believed in people when they didn't believe in themselves. And seeing him now in a leadership role at his job and seeing those other guys go move off to other things and bigger and better things, it's like, wow, it's like, I remember when you were talking about him programming with 2 fingers on the keyboard, and now he's going off to Microsoft, and he's going off to, I don't know. It really just continually impresses me about him, the way he launches other people into success.
Yeah, you know, and that has a practical, that's practical as well, because, and you've talked about it, Mocha Mommy, with regards to your medical field. If people respect you, if they admire you when you need something, because there will come a time when you need something, whether it's your next opportunity, whether it's funding for your husband's business, whether it's whatever it is, you need a network of people who are willing to vouch for you, who are willing to put you in a position, whether it's again a job or connect you with the right funding source or whatever it is in order to succeed. And it was again in that billion, the how to know if he's going to be a billionaire, that I talked about the fact that does he have the respect of his peers? So yes, if you are dating a man who does not seem to have the respect of his peers, of his colleagues, of his subordinates, of the elders. And I'm not saying that he should be somebody who's run over, but if nobody likes him, I think that's a huge red flag. And I think that that's a great point, Mocha Mommy, that you're educating us on. So, Tulip?
Yeah, trust is very, very important when it comes to finding this quote unquote king, because I am married. I haven't been married as long as Mocha Mommy, under 10 years, but when I met my husband, that was one of the first things that I actually recognized in him. He was a very trustworthy person, and he's a very kind-hearted person, and I knew based on how I was raised, I wanted somebody with a sense of ethics and just a very strong morality. So, and when you're looking for somebody to build a life with, and you expect to have a lot of financial means, you want to make sure that he's somebody that is not going to get a lot of money and go about it the wrong way, and you're in tax trouble, legal trouble, you're embroiled in a lot of different conflicts with people because he doesn't know how to conduct himself. And also the aspect of trust is that's pretty important, because you have to trust him when he's out there doing the things he needs to do, that he's actually doing the things that he says he's doing. You have to be able to trust his word, that when he says that he wants XYZ, that he's going to have a strength of character to actually implement it and not have a string of failures, because that gets old. That gets really, really old.
I agree. I agree. And I suggest that women sometimes, and I'd love to do a session about this, but not on my channel because it doesn't really fit in what I talk about. But sometimes I wonder if women really don't look at the red flags in a relationship. You know, um, for example, this is an extreme example, but I know a woman who, she and I were talking about her latest relationship, and she told me he's punching holes in walls. And I said, there's going to come a point in time where he punches holes in you, and I was trying to kind of get her away from that. But she said, oh, I care about him. I don't want to leave him, blah, blah, blah. So what Tulip is saying is like, really not being afraid to walk away during the courting process if you're seeing these red flags. I kind of feel like that needs to be fleshed out a little bit more by me or by some other people. Again, it's not really my wheelhouse, but I'm curious if anybody would ever have a discussion about that, because I'd love to be a fly on the wall and really have young women really kind of think about that. Like, are you ignoring red flags that are um, coming out during the courting process? So, Fine Womanhood, I see you're back.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I stepped away for a second, but I had you guys on, so I was listening. Definitely agree with everything you guys are saying. Yeah, for sure. I watched this TikTok one time, and there was a guy who was married. He was a businessman, and I don't know, maybe if you guys are on TikTok or you may have seen it floating around on YouTube, because it had a lot of views and a lot of likes. And he said that one thing that when he's doing a business deal with another man and he sits down, at a business lunch about to make a deal, he knows if the man he's talking to, if he's a good prospect for him to do business with, based on how if he's looking at other women that pass by. Right. He said if the guy he's doing a business deal with has a ring on his finger and they're sitting down having lunch discussing a deal or a partnership, and he sees the guy like side eyeing other women that walk by, looking at them from behind. You know how guys tend to, make a double take at women when they're walking by. And he said if a married man is doing that, he knows that he's not going to be a good business partner, because that shows that even though that man has a wedding ring on his finger, he still has some kind of, disloyalty or some dishonesty within him towards his marriage. And that businessman was saying if he has that in his marriage, he'll definitely have it in a deal with me or in a partnership with me. So I think how men interact with each other, and if you're able to observe how that is, how they interact with each other, that is a big, big indicator of, who he is overall. If you're considering a relationship with him, men know other men, I think way more than us women tend to sometimes, how we try to convince ourselves and make excuses, but men know other men and they know the deal flat out. And if there are, he has a lot of negative friendships, or business people don't want to work with him, or he has a bad reputation, definitely pay attention to that. That could save you from a lot of problems with this guy. So I totally agree with that point.
Or if
I
he has no
agree.
friends, that's an even bigger
Yeah.
red flag.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. God bless. Welcome.
Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon, panel. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
What do you think?
Um, it's so many good points that the ladies on the panel, and also, of course, you pointed out. But I also want to say this: sometimes we, as women, and it's nothing negative on us, we don't know what we need. So sometimes we have a list of things. Like he has to be kind, he has to be funny. Well, Nick Cannon probably is kind and funny, but would he be the right person for you? You get
Oh
what I'm
my gosh,
saying?
I'm laughing so hard. Oh my goodness. Yes.
So for me, I had to ask God personally. Everybody's faith is different, but I asked God, give me what I need, because sometimes you just don't know what you need. And that's what worked for me. I just wasn't in tune with myself at that moment to do a whole list. Because I did put the things that a lot of women put down, but that worked for some women, it doesn't work for all. And you have to realize that when you're looking for a mate, or you want a mate to be in tune with you.
I agree. Everybody, don't forget to like the video and share as well, for all the new people that are in here. I agree with that, and that's why I said there are things on Elena's list that I would never put on my list, and then there would be things on my list that she didn't have on there. So, everyone's list is different, and then sometimes you do have to get out of your own way. Now, this is the story of Cherie when she was younger, like 23 years old, but I wrote a list when I was in my little 23-ish self, of what I wanted God to give me in a man, and God sent it to me, and I sent it right back to sender and said, God, you must be crazy. That was the worst relationship I ever had in my life. And, so I think that the list now that I'm 47 is would be a lot more refined, but I also would have within my list and take out the characteristics that shouldn't be in here and add the ones that should so that I could have the best marital experience. So yeah. I'm going to get through a couple more of these. So, lesson number 4 was just getting on the same page, which it really is about you and your spouse, like having the same vision for your life and targets for your life in all areas of your life. Lesson number 5 is saying no to normal. So, with Grant Cardone, he just does this whole 10x thing, which is like, we don't want normal lives. And these days in the United States, I think that normal is like working class, even from a financial point of view, or normal is, hey, I go to work and come home. Man goes to work and comes home, but there's no spark. There's no, nothing else in our lives. Like we're just living day to day and paycheck to paycheck. And for me, saying no to normal would be I want to like enjoy the person I'm with. I don't want to go into the house dreading going into the house. I want to be able to actually have a great life. I want to travel with whomever the person is that I ultimately end up with. So, whatever your extraordinary life is, I think we have the right to have that, especially as Black women. And then number 6, I'm just going to go again through all of these. Number 6 is the fact that empires are destroyed from within. And she talks a lot about haters in here being different from enemies. Enemies are worse because they are a threat to you, and you need to be prepared for that. And there are a lot of different people who can come in and be an enemy to your empire. Family members, mom, dad, brother, sister, um, can actually destroy the empire from within. It could be friends, for example, that could be a problem. It could be coworkers. It could be anybody. It could also be, and Elena talks about this extensively, it could also be your desire as a woman to be liked, and how you need to get over that if you want to protect your empire. That we as women, if we are saying yes to things because we don't want people, that are close to us to dislike us, that can destroy the empire as well. And then lesson number 7 is be a gold digger, hold down the fort, and create a legacy. And basically, hold down the fort just basically means that as you and your husband are creating your empire, there are going to be certain things that you'll need to do as the queen. So, with her specifically, she talks about the fact that uh, Grant was doing some sort of a presentation and he missed one of the kids' birthdays. And she basically had to say to the one of the daughters, Daddy loves you, but he's out of town right now, but when he comes back, you're going to have a second birthday party with dad and mom and, the rest of the family. So, she talks about the fact that there are sacrifices that you have to make in order to hold down the fort to have this empire. So I'm going to open it up to all of you, whomever wants to go first with regards to any of those.
Yeah, there was actually one thing I did want to point out here. One thing she was saying with the with the whole, this kind of goes back into the trust thing, right? The whole aspect of building up a your kingdom. And one of the things that she talked about was finding people in your court. I think that's a very important part of us as women, to make sure that we have somebody in our court, different people, wise counsel, because in number one, finding the proper man that we should have, I think having wise counsel to be able to look and see that man's character when you're not around is super, super important. And when we have daughters, we have to kind of make sure we're in the right space to be that counsel for them, because one person's not going to know everything. We have to be able to look out for our sisters and everything, and be able to say, I don't know if that's kind of what you want. And but yeah, the other aspect that I wanted to bring up, was a proverb that says, a wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down. So when we man, I don't want to get too philosophical with this, but when we have a lack of one, discernment about the man who we actually pick, or we have this mentality of I have my career, my life, and the husband has he has his life, he's over there, and we just come together for, I guess, mealtime and intimacy on occasion. That to me is kind of antithetical to this whole empire concept. And that is what a lot of us are raised to accept. You have your life as a woman, he has his life as a man. You come together for a little bit, and otherwise you're just separate, kind of. As long as the bill's paid, everybody's fine. But I do think if you're going to build something extraordinary, you have to get out of that mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Mokomami, Fine Womanhood, what do you think with regards to those?
I think the being on the same page, honestly, I think that's a daily thing.
Mhm.
Like, you got to check that on a daily basis. And I think like being on this, and I mean, I know that was hard when we like stepped away from active duty military to go reserves, because we were not checking in. And that really could create like, I'm doing more than you and you're not understanding. Da, 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 da. No, we had to step back and we had to be on the same page. And that's a daily check-in process. Like because there were times when we were away from each other, but because we were checking in to be on the same page, there's sometimes it went smoother than we were together and you're in the living room and I'm in the kitchen. Like that's a daily thing. And think about it, like now that our kids are almost grown, they're a lot more self-sufficient. So what does that mean for all of that time that's gotten freed up because we don't have little kids to chase? So again, I just think that's a daily thing you have to do to stay not just married, but to stay united, because teenage girls will play that mommy daddy game. Well, dad said I could, or you've got to stay on the same page. Like, and I just can't emphasize how important that is.
Yeah, I know that I had my husband had children and they wanted to do something. They actually wanted a cat. And like I'm allergic. And my husband and I talked about it. I said, no, we can't have a cat. He agreed. And do you know, when we got in front of the kids, he said, well, I don't know, ask your stepmother. And that was the one time that I really was angry with him, like really angry, because I'm like, we talked about this. I thought we were on the same page in the bedroom, but then I come out And we're sitting at the dinner table with the kids, and all of a sudden it's, toss it over to Cherie and make her the bad person, right? The bad parent. So, hey, Abundance, good to see you. Find womanhood. What do you think?
Yeah, so those last slides, she said lesson 6, empires are destroyed from within. I think that's so important because everyone is worried about the haters and the outside people, but the people inside of your empire and what you have going on, they have the most access to you. So yeah, like your family telling you things and trying to manipulate situations. I kind of have family members that are like that. I mean, I have a lot of older Black women in my family, like 60s and up, and they are not with the new like swirling, like they're not with any of this stuff at all. So my current man is white, and they don't like that. It's just obvious they don't like that, so they will tell me certain things that I'm just like, this, y'all are telling me these things and you believe you're trying to give me a word, but you're really just speaking horrible, negative things over what I got going on. And then on top of that, they don't even know really what I have going on. They just know I'm with someone white. And I do believe that they're trying to like basically sabotage my relationship by telling me all these crazy things.
Yeah.
And things that I've heard in the manosphere regarding Black women dating out. We know there's content creators that talk about that all day. And my aunts aren't even in the manosphere or any of this online stuff at all. But it just goes to show in the Black community, like a Black woman wanting to build a life for themselves in just any kind of way. These things are ingrained in the community to like tear it down. And you just have to be really careful because, of all people, it's my own family trying to tell me things to destroy a relationship that is one of the best relationships I've ever had in my life. And the other relationships that were not very good before I started opening up my options, these same aunts were telling me, oh, give it a chance. Oh, don't worry about it. Oh, don't take it too serious. Like all the red flags, they were just telling me to deal with it because, the man was Black and, that he looked good or whatever. But at the end of the day, the connection in the relationship wasn't right. So you just have to really be careful about that. Like people will try to get into your head. They will try to tell you things, try to manipulate you in a certain way to have you out here just making the wrong decisions and, and making the wrong mistakes. And they're your family and they're people that are close to you. So, we all hold certain family members in a very high regard. So, you have to be careful to make sure that certain things don't affect you to the point where you're making like decisions you may not be able to recover from. But she gave some really great lessons in this book. I didn't really know a lot about Elena Cardone as much as Grant Cardone, because he's the one who put himself out there a whole lot in the beginning. But this is my first time like reading anything of her, and I really really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed her overall lessons too.
Yeah, I mean, I read it in about 2 days. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I could tell she had an editor and a very good one, unlike Grant's
Yes.
books that are kind of thrown together. So, I do want to show one last thing because, we are Black women making money here, and I feel like it is, important for me to share this message as well. So I'm going to share my screen here and show you this um, here, and then I want to come back. But she puts up these great videos here, and I just want to share this one with you because it's so important.
Different times. And I think it's important. I know this isn't the normal TikTok dancing and being cute, But I think this is an important message for young women to hear. I was married at age 20 in 1995. Shortly after we got married, we had only known each other for 10 dates when we got married. And shortly after we got married, I was filling out applications to go back to college. And he said, oh, hell no, I'm not supporting a wife in college. We're just going to have kids and you're going to be a stay-at-home mom anyway. So I bought a business instead. And after my first son was born, I quit working and never had income again, even though I ran our family businesses off and on in varying capacities. I was completely financially dependent on a man who had been abusive from our wedding on. 24 years later, I had the job experience of the average high school kid and the credit of the average high school kid and the expenses of a 44-year-old woman who had sole custody of her children.
The reason that I wanted to share that with you ladies is because I am an advocate of you as a woman should always have skills. You as a woman should always have skills. And there's a fine line between not depending on a man, because I don't want to tell you that, but also having something going for yourself, having your own skills so that if anything happens, you're not left in the position of this woman here who's saying that she's 40 years old. She has the expenses of a 40-year-old woman. She's got 4 kids. She has a husband who's trying to take her kids away from her because she cannot financially support them without him. And you all know that I'm always telling you to find men who have skills and skilled labor. I think that Black women should maintain the path of skilled labor as well. Whatever that is, whether you know how to do hair or whether you know how to, build a spaceship, whatever it is. My husband died. He died with 3 children. They were from his previous wife. His previous wife had to have skills in order to take care of those children. Anything could happen. He could die. You could get divorced. Anything could happen. And I just think that it is important, again, because I focus so much on finances, to tell you it's not so much never depend on a man, but it is for you to make sure that you protect yourself, always have a savings account, always have, your own bank account. This is just my opinion. And always have skills so that if anything happens, that you're protected. Always have a life insurance policy that you own and you are the beneficiary of, especially if you have kids.
I agree. I feel as if we talk a lot about what happens if you get divorced, but no one really talks about what happens with illness and injury. And you're married through sickness and health. And I remember, fortunately, we were in the military where they make you create these things before your spouse or you deploys with, you have to talk these things out. And, my spouse, he had a job where he had a security clearance. So I didn't always know what was going on. So if he would have gotten injured or killed in one of those missions, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, use that word, unalived during one of his missions, you know how long it would be before the VA would compensate me or my family? Because technically, if the mission's classified, you can't put a claim in on it. So a lot of people don't think about that. So yeah, like making sure that you have a skill, making sure that you have those finances in order, making sure you have those discussions. I mean, even being in healthcare, you see how often families are disrupted. Healthcare costs is the #1 cause of bankruptcy in this country. So it's not just about broke Dusties and him divorcing you. It really is about your family's security, even when you have a good man, even if he is a good provider. Because God forbid, think about it, there's an accident every 23 minutes in the United States, and not everybody's going to walk away from it whole. So just ladies, just keep that in mind. This is not an offense to your man as a provider. This is not an offense. It is really a way to protect your family.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, Mokomami. Tulip, go ahead.
Having skills is super important, and I think that's why it's important when these girls are in high school and getting into their college years. We need to encourage them to be learning different things, doing different things, putting themselves out there, because like Uncle Mommy said, you don't know, he might get in a car accident or whatever. And my husband does provide. He's the one that's the breadwinner, but he's highly supportive of me doing my skills and different things that I want to do for my own just, having a life or whatever, but also because he can use the skill. Well, I shouldn't say it like that. My skills can be utilized to positively impact the family as well. Sometimes he might need me to go out and help him out with his business or whatever it is he's doing, or he might have to, need me to do this, some kind of task or whatever, and trust that it's going to get done. So, and I put this in the chat a little bit earlier about understanding what different types of men might need out of a wife. If he's a politician or something, then he might want you to have soft skills, or be able to entertain and all of this kind of stuff. But yeah, having skills doesn't necessarily mean you're in college for 15 years. I mean, there's a gray area, you know, but it is very important.
Yeah, find womanhood.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you ladies have said so far. Having your own skill is so important. And I remember, Sheree, we were talking about this last time, that even for the ladies who may want to stay home, but you just so happen to have a really great connection with a man who may not financially be able to provide that like 100%, you can still, this is when you can use your skills and you can monetize, to a certain degree where you can be able to stay home. And just in general, with or without a man, you have the skills to keep yourself from going into someone else's job and clocking in every day. And it's just so important, because I know, we said last time that the likelihood of all of us single ladies meeting millionaires is kind of slim, unfortunately, right? I mean, so, we would, it's more ideal to always have your finances in order, so that no matter what, you're never in a position where you can't take care of yourself and you can't be self-sufficient. Um, so I think, you guys are just right on point with what you're saying. And, it's 2022, about to be 2023, and there's just so many things that you can do. Like, people are making thousands of dollars from their couch, literally, with their cell phone. Like, there's so many things that you can do. So if you may not have a skill, just take the time to really research. And, I know on this YouTube channel, Sheree, you post a lot of resources for Black women, and Mocha Mommy, you do too. You post so many things for Black women to get into, to help them find that purpose, that passion, and give them the keys on how to monetize it, and, never lose that drive to do so, because it will pay off in the end.
You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
like this, like, no kidding. So there's something it's called SQL. I don't know what it stands for. It's something in tech. I don't know. Sometimes my husband be speaking differently.
Sequel.
Okay. So basically it's something where you process all the data that's coming in, right? So this thing right here, there's a few women who do it remotely for my husband's company. And the project managers fight over the women, because if they say, oh, I need this report by close of business, they like to pick the women because they know that they'll be done by 3 because they pick their kids home from school. So the project managers will actually fight over the women who have the SQL because they know that they're going to be done before close of business. when they need a report done by close of business, they like, oh, get Jenny to do it because she's got kids to pick up from school and she's going to be done by 3. So the project managers actually fight over the women who know that. And I think that's really funny. Like you say, women making money from their couch because they're pretty much doing it from home.
Yeah, so some of those people are like data analysts or business analysts. I know that I've got more videos to do with regards to tech jobs that you all are able to do, especially from home. But yeah, so SQL is SQL, everybody, and it's just like Mama said, a database thing, and it's not. I don't feel it's that hard to learn. There are a lot of certificate programs online that are free or close to free from Google and places like that, where you're able to learn to do these things. And you can be an independent contractor and eventually flip that into a full-time job. So, yeah. So I didn't want to go past 2 hours. We're at 1 hour, 55 minutes right now. So I thought that today's discussion was really great. I'm so happy that all of you decided to come and join the panel here. I think that no matter what you decide to do, ladies, really kind of take a good hard look at some of the lessons that Elena has given us, recognize that we need to take everything she's saying and like look at it through our lenses and where we are in this country, hierarchically and historically and things like that. But I do think that there are a lot of great lessons. And if you haven't read the book yet, I would suggest it. I would suggest you get the book, and I would suggest you read it if you are looking to get married and build an empire with a husband. So find womanhood. Why don't we start with you? Final comments.
Yeah, I thought this conversation was so amazing. I really love your guys' channel. Mocha Mommy, your channel is amazing. And so is this one, Black Women Making Money. This channel is amazing. This is a really, really good conversation. And, talking about finances and how to make it, how to maintain it, how to, navigate it with a spouse. That's so important because a lot of breakups and ending of marriages are happening because of money. So this is a very important topic, and I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm definitely going to be looking forward to more live streams.
Thank you so much. Tulip?
Cherie, thank you so much for, just initiating this discussion. It is so important, especially for the under 25 crowd. But yeah, don't allow people and a lot of the rhetoric from family, friends, or just internet, whatever, just get into your head. Figure out what kind of lifestyle. I think it's important for us to figure out how it is we want to live. Don't apologize for the different things that you want or need to have, and just work backwards from there. It is a day by day thing. Don't let a lot of this fear mongering, just get to you. Start a journal, pray, ask God for discernment. And just be around a positive influences and people that are doing the type of things that you want to do and be. And I think if more of us put that as a priority, that we would maybe have a lot better outcomes for ourselves. But thank you so much for your platform, and I'll be looking forward to more.
Thank you so much for coming up. Mocha Mommy.
I just want to say, like, ladies, so many people are looking for genuine people to connect with, and it's okay to put yourself out there. Still have your boundaries, still know your standards, but it's okay to put yourself out there. I feel like in this space, we talk a lot about what we want to cut out, but let's start talking about what we want to add, because there's some great people out there who could use your skill, your talent, your passion. And you're a great benefit to the world, but you're of no benefit, sitting to yourself in the corner. So just know that there are people who are willing to give you support and encouragement, and that you can be that for someone else too. So it's okay to step out of your comfort zone.
I love that. And I will say that there are a lot of great people out there. I mean, a lot of dusties, a lot of people that you should not be associated with. But I also see an abundance of just a lot of really great people, whether they are going to be friends with me professionally or personally, or, they turn into something that is a lot more romantic and could potentially be a partner. I want us to think that there is somebody for us that's out there, if that's the lane that you want to have, if you are looking for somebody, and being open to that and knowing that there is somebody out there for you, but never give up your standards. And what does Cynthia say? The standards, expectations, and boundaries. I do think that she's right about that. Um, and just respect yourself, but walk in a way that the right person, the right man, is going to see you and is going to say, yes, her, and I think that there's somebody out there for everybody, but that person's not looking for you on your couch. They're not looking for you in your cubicle. You have to go out and you actually have to. That's why I love Mocha Mommy's channel. We're talking about going out to sporting events and sports bars, and other people are asking me places to go. I know there are other people who talk about that type of content, but really get out there and just be seen. And the right person will show himself to you. So with that, I hope that you all enjoy your evening. And thanks to my panelists for being here. And I will see you ladies actually tomorrow. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Good night. Bye.